Today I will be reading an excerpt from my favorite book, Looking for Alaska by John Green. It is my favorite book, and this excerpt means a lot to the book. It's taking place at the very end of the book when the main character, Pudge, is finally forgiving Alaska for dying and ultimately forgiving himself for letting her die and realizing that it wasn't his fault or anyone else's fault, and that it couldn't be stopped no matter what. And he's finally at peace with everything that has happened throughout the book. I hope you like it. Before I got here, I thought for a long time that the only way out of the Librium was to pretend that it did not exist. To build a small, self-efficient world in the back corner of an endless maze and to pretend that I was not lost, but home. But that only led to a lonely life accompanied by the last words of the already dead. So I came here looking for a great purpose, for real friends, and for a more than minor life. And then I screwed up, and the Colonel screwed up, and she slipped through our fingers, and there was no sugarcoating it. She deserved better friends. When she screwed up all those years ago, just a little girl terrified to death, she collapsed into the enigma of herself. And I could have done that, but I saw where it led for her, and I still believe in the great purpose. And I can believe in it in spite of losing her. Because I will forget her, yes. That which came together will fall apart slowly, and I will forget. But she will forgive my forgetting, just as I forgive her for forgetting me and the Colonel and everyone but herself and her mother in those last moments she spent as a person. And I know that she forgives me for being dumb and scared and doing the dumb and scared thing. And I know she forgives me just as her mother forgives her, and here's how I know. I thought at first that she was just dead, just darkness, just a body being eaten by the bugs. I thought about her a lot like that, as something's meal. What was her green eyes and half smirk and the soft curve of her legs would soon be nothing, just the bones that I never saw. I thought about the slow process of becoming bone and then fossil and then coal that will, in millions of years, be mined by humans of the future, and how they will heat their homes with her, and that she would be the smoke blowing out of the smokestack, coating the atmosphere. I still think that sometimes. Think that maybe the afterlife is just something that we made up to help ease the pain, to make our lives in the Librium bearable. Maybe she was just matter, and matter gets recycled. But ultimately, I do not believe that she was only matter. I believe that the rest of her must be recycled too. I believe that we are greater than the sum of our parts. If you take Alaska's generic code and add her life experiences and the relationships she had with people, then you will take the size of her and the shape of her body, and you do not get her. But there is something else entirely. There are parts of her that is greater than the sum of her knowable parts, and that part has to go somewhere too, because it cannot be destroyed. Although no one will ever accuse me of being much of a science student, one thing I learned from science classes is that matter is neither created or destroyed. And if Alaska took her own life, that is the hope I wish I could have forgiven her. Forgetting her mother, failing her mother, and her friends and herself. Those are awful things, but she did not need to fold herself into self-destruction. Those are awful things. Those awful things are survivable, because we are indestructible, as we believe ourselves to believe. When when adults say that teenagers think they are invincible with that sly, stupid smile on the face, they don't know how right they are. We need never be hopeless, because we can never be irreparably broken. We think that we are invincible because we are. We cannot be broken, and we cannot die. Like all energy, we can only change shapes and size. They forget that when they get old. They get scared of losing and failing. But that part of us, greater than the sum of our parts, cannot begin and cannot end. And so it cannot fail. So I know that she forgives me just as I forgive her. Thomas Edison's last words were, "It's very beautiful over here." I don't know where there is, but I believe that it is somewhere, and I hope it's beautiful.